All right. So congrats to all the finalists. Like I said earlier, we have 42 ICDC qualifiers, which is pretty insane, especially for this year. Good job, guys. You worked really, really hard, and I can't believe you guys did it. So this meeting covers everything about virtual ICDC. It's going to be a little bit different from district and state. So stay tuned for that. And then if you haven't already, like Isha mentioned, please fill out this form right here. Can someone go ahead and send that to the chat?
Yes, I just sent it. Everyone needs to, this is just so that we have your updated email, and we need this from everyone who is advancing, who has advanced ICDC.
Okay, we'll give you guys a minute to get that form ready, and I'm going to move on.
It should take like 20 seconds. So if you guys could fill it out right now, that would be great. Just sent the link in the chat. Awesome. I see the responses pouring in. So this is great.
So this is going to be the ICDC calendar for this year. There's two parts to it. So everyone is going to be submitting at a certain time. So if you guys want to refer to the calendar and look for your event, it's going to be linked in Canvas in the ICDC module. We didn't note that here, but it's in the ICDC module. So if you look for your event, you can get the date and for your written entry, and then also for online testing if you're role play. And this is the second calendar. So again, these are going to be linked in Canvas, both of these in the ICDC module.
Yes. So this an important thing to note, which is going to be on the next slide, but each event is on one specific date. And so that's when you're only going to be able to submit your video or access your role play on that date. So this calendar, you can take a picture of these slides if you want, but we also have the full calendar linked in Canvas. And so I would recommend make sure that you know the exact day for your competition, and all written entries are going to be that first Monday, April 12th.
Mm-hmm.
So
if you're unsure, just give us a little text and we'll let you know if you don't know how to read this calendar. But
yeah, we will tell you exactly what you need to know. So if you're confused, message me your date.
So that's part one, and this is part two if you guys want to take a screenshot. But again, they're going to be linked in Canvas. All right, moving on. So if you haven't competed at ICDC before, there's always 2 rounds of competition. So it's gonna be similar how we do it in person, but this time it's gonna be online. So the preliminary round is gonna be the week of April 12th to the 24th. So make sure you're checking your dates, like you just said. And this is gonna be pre-recorded like normal, like you usually do a competition this year. However,
Jenny, can you say the preliminary one more time? You cut out a little bit.
so preliminary is going to be April 12th to the 24th. And this is going to be pre-recorded, just like normal, just how you guys have been doing it all year. But it's a little different when you reach the final round. So all preliminary people will be notified after they submit their pre-recording, whether or not they reach the final round, which is going to be live judging in front of a panel online on April 26th through May 1st. And this is going to be done through Zoom. All of that information will be given to you a little bit later in the slide presentation, but also in terms of like links and password, we're also going to be sending that out to you too. So you'll know if you're a finalist or not and whether you have to go live. So you'll be personally submitting your videos and paper directly to the DECA platform. So instead of Canvas, we're not doing Canvas this time. Each and every one of you are responsible for submitting your own project through the DECA platform. We will be sending your login information, such as the username and password, as we receive it in your email. So if you were doing role play, you're pretty familiar with getting emails from the DECA email. So written entries, make sure to stay tuned and keep checking your email for your username and password after you submit your event. Written events will now need a statement of insurances, and this is signed by Ms. Lowe and all teammates. So the written statements of insurances is a form. Basically just goes over the guidelines of DECA and judging and whatnot, and that's going to be located in Canvas. It's just one sheet. It requires every member of your team to sign it, and it already should be signed by Ms. Lowe.
Signed by Ms. Lowe already, so we'll have instructions later in the slideshow. So that's why it's really important that that form that we just sent in the chat, fill out an email that you check often, because we're gonna have to send login information and updates. So it's really important that you're checking that email. And we'll also keep you guys posted on the reminder.
So make sure you look out for that statement of assurances in Canvas. Since you all need to sign it, you be wary that you might have to meet in person. Otherwise, you can use like an online platform to sign it. And it's already signed by Ms. Lowe, so you don't have to worry about that. Testing.
So for testing, we have a more detailed testing schedule on the next slide. This is just a screenshot from that earlier calendar. It's a little blurry, so I recommend checking out the high def version in Canvas. But just one thing to note, you can see that depending on what exam you have to take. So some of you are taking the marketing exam, some of you are taking hospitality. Depending what exam you have to take, it's a different day. So this is, and you can only access your test on that day. So can we go to the next slide? So just like for submitting your written or role play events, you're going to have some login info. So that's going to be your DECA member ID and password. They're going to send that to us soon. And as soon as we get it, we're going to mail it out to all of you. And you're also going to access the testing portal using this login info. The timing is a little different than for the state and district competition. This time the testing window is between 7 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. on your designated day. If you guys read the packets that are published on DECA Inc.'s website, it says 8 a.m., but that's 8 a.m. Eastern. So it's 7 a.m. Central to 11:59, and it's only on that one day. And as we said earlier, testing is on the Icdc platform. And just as they were in previous rounds, they're open book tests. And guys, just a quick note, these things are open book, and it was kind of disappointing to see the test scores for a lot of our competitors. So make sure that you're fully utilizing this open book. Don't take it at the last minute. Make sure you actually use your resources. You have 75 minutes and you can use any notes that you have available to you. So try to do your best on these tests because they're open book. So you can look up anything if you are unsure about it. And just as, and it's only one question at a time.
Okay, moving on to prepared events, written events, and also consulting for those of you that are doing that. So the submission window, just like roleplay, will be 7 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. on your designated days. Check your calendar. You'll be required to submit your paper and video to the ICD portal, like I mentioned earlier, so not through Canvas. You will be given the username and password sent to you shortly before you actually submit your project, and this will be through the DECA email. So watch your email. And this is really important. You must submit 2 files. Like I said, the written statements of assurances will be 1 file in itself, so you don't have to merge it. And then the written entry with the title page and executive summary as well. So that's your entire paper and the written statements of assurances. And that again is located in the ICDC module in Canvas. So your presentation video must be recorded and submitted. 7 a.m. to 11:59 on your day, April 19th to the 23rd. They will give you a phrase that you must include in your video. I'm not too sure. You should.
Yeah, wait, I can explain that. So for previously, you could have submitted your video that you submitted at district for your state competition, and it would be the same video and it was fine. But because ICDC is doing it all on one platform, they don't want the platform to crash. So they want everyone to both record and submit the video on your designated day. And so the way that they're kind of enforcing that is you're going to have to re-record the video with a phrase that they will only release on that day, and you have to include that phrase at the beginning of your video. So it might be like, I don't know what the phrases are going to be actually, but if you're doing a business operations presentation, you can't do the presentation video that you already have. You have to re-record it during that window, 7 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. on your day, and it has to include that phrase. If you want to, if you don't have that phrase, or if they see that you like edited the video or something, then they're going to disqualify you. So that you're going to have to re-record your presentation video, but that's for the presentation aspect. All written papers are going to be submitted on April 12th, and then every written event. So that's going to be about a week before your presentation start. So presentations will start the next week. And then the other thing to note is that the team captain, it doesn't really matter who it is just one person on your team. They're the only person who can upload materials. And we just chose for all of our teams, we just chose one person to have that role whenever we were registering you guys for ICDC. And when you get your username and login information, we're going to tell you which one of you is the team captain, and then that's the person who's going to have to upload your presentation videos. Okay. If you guys have any questions on any of this, just send it in the chat and I'll try to answer it.
So back to the statements of assurances. It's going to be in the ICDC module of Canvas. It's already signed by Miss Lowe. Make sure it is, just in case you put an old one in. It must be signed by Miss Lowe. All members of your team must sign the form, like I said earlier. So print out the document, have your team members sign it, and then scan it using like Cam Scanner or any other platform that you'd like, and save it as a PDF file. You could also use PDF Filler as well to write in it. And if you have any other ways you want to do it, go ahead. I mean, printing out, in my opinion, is the easiest option, but if you have another way, go ahead and do it.
And that written statement, the written statement already has Miss Lowe signed it, and it has your association name and everything already filled out. So all you have to do is get your signatures in.
You also have to put your event name. So if you don't know your event name by now, I don't know what to tell you, but you should know your event name. So
and if you don't, you can message us, but I think that all of you.
So in terms of naming the file, this is really important. You must use the following format to name your file. So the event acronym, the association abbreviation, which is just Texas or Texas DECA, the last name, of participants in alphabetical order. Yeah, TX. The last name of participants in alphabetical order, and then the file type. So the file is either the statements of assurances, so SA, or the written event, WE. So here's an example below. So it's BMOR Texas, so that's the acronym, Texas, TX, Smith, Thomas, and Young. These are 3 different people. So if you're 1, if you're 2, or 3 people, that's what it is. And written event. So the only difference between these 2 is that the ending, it's either SA or WE for the file type. Moving on to role plays, team decision making, and individual.
So for team decision making, each is happening on a different day. So here is a schedule, a calendar of the team decision making events. I also have this in Canvas, but if you are a team decision making event, you can take a picture of this, and your role play is only going to be available on one specific date. And just like, well, it makes sense for role play, but just like written, you have to record your presentation, upload it, and submit it on that day. The timing is the same as everything else. It opens at 7 a.m. and closes at 11:59 p.m. on your designated day. One thing to note is that you can't open it and then come back to it like after school or something. Once you access that role play, you have 2 hours to complete the entire case study process. And only let you view the actual prompt for 30 minutes. So what we recommend is either screenshotting the prompt or like copying and pasting it onto another doc in case you need to reference it after the 30 minutes. Team decision making, you guys are 2 people. So you're gonna have to view the prompt, make your plan, and make your 15-minute recording all during this 2-hour window. And so it's actually a lot closer to a role play environment than what we were doing previously with a couple of days. So 2 hours once you open it. Individual series.
Yeah, this is going to be the individual series calendar. Make sure to check your date for testing. The presentation must be recorded, uploaded, and submitted like usual, just like team decision making. If you want to go ahead and take a screenshot of this right now, you can. Otherwise, it's located in Canvas. Okay, so similar to team decision making, we'll open at 7 a.m. each day, and videos must be recorded, uploaded, and submitted by 11:59 p.m. Like Isha said, you have 2 hours to complete this entire role play process once you open it. So, and you have 10 minutes to review the event situation and develop a solution, just like a normal role play. All presentations must be 10 minutes or less, and remember to screenshot your prompt. And all solutions must be reported in one real-time presentation. I made sure to include that because I had a couple of questions last time of people who made some edits. I don't want you guys to make edits. It's one real-time presentation. Don't cut through the
no editing.
Yeah, no editing whatsoever.
That goes for the written videos too. Like, it has to be one full clip. Yes, you're allowed to have a presentation, but you can't edit the clips. Oh, and one more thing to note. Can you go back to the individual slide?
Yeah.
Is just make sure that the prompts that you're using, like if you have any visual aids, that they're handwritten. And if you're doing handwritten aids, make sure that it's legible. So you might probably want to use a thick marker or like black Sharpie or something, so that whenever you're holding it up to the camera, they can read what's on the paper, but you're not allowed to have any presentation slides for role play events. You have to have something that you could have written with your own hand.
We had one student that did that, and we don't want that to happen again. So
Yeah, because then they had to refilm the whole thing. So.
all right.
On to the finals. Oh, sorry. So as Danny talked about earlier in the presentation, there's 2 rounds of competition. So preliminary is all the information that we were just talking about. That's the pre-recorded stuff. If you do well in your preliminary competition, DECA Inc. is going to notify you that you have advanced to the final round, and the finalist competition is the following week after preliminary competition. You're going to be giving the same presentation. If you're a prepared event, you have already submitted your paper, so that paper doesn't change. But what is going to change is instead of recording a video and then submitting that video, you're going to be given a specific appointment time. During that finalist week, they say that the appointment times are non-negotiable, which is a little bit, I think, hard because sometimes they said that it might be at like 10 a.m. and for people who are in person for school, that might be difficult. But they said the appointment times are non-negotiable. You're going to get a Zoom link. And then once you go into that Zoom link, you're going to be in a breakout room for a period of time. And then they're going to release you from that holding room. And then you're going to have a one-on-one conference with the judge. And so you and your team are going to just speak to that judge. And it's almost like you were in the room with that judge. You're giving a presentation. And you want to make sure you have a good professional background because it's trying to simulate an actual ICDC competition encounter with the judge.
And remember, dress appropriately. Blazers are required. You don't need a DECA blazer this time. And also, I did not verify this, but be prepared if they ask you questions. I'm not too sure if they will. Will they? Did you verify that?
Yeah, so for the final round, they will ask questions. They won't ask questions for the preliminary round. So because you're just submitting your pre-recorded presentation, Denny just brought up a good point. So they can't ask questions. So you want to make sure to make your presentation as comprehensive as possible because in that preliminary round, they can ask questions. So you want to make sure that between your presentation and your paper, or role plays, your presentation covers everything that you need to cover in the rubric because they won't be able to ask any questions.
Yeah, and then also, since all year has been no questions, make sure if you do make it to the final round, you are prepared to answer questions. So
Yeah, that's a
way that we would break it up, me and my partner, is one person would, if it was a financial question, he would answer a financial question. If it was a written question, I would answer that, or anything. And just make sure you guys have a plan in terms of who's answering the questions. You don't want to be stumbling over each other, and you guys want to be prepared to answer whatever the judge throws at you. So moving on to important video information, just like normal, dress professionally. You must wear a blazer. Have good lighting and make sure your recording is audible. We want to make sure to hear you loud and clear. And review the timeline of your events. Please don't go over your time. Please be mindful of the judges and their time as well. And make sure you're in gallery view for teams recording on Zoom. We had a couple of teams who weren't, and we want to make sure that you guys are in gallery view. So we want to see all of you at all times. And also, like Isha mentioned before, what should be here is make sure if you're in role play, your writing is legible for the video, and make sure it's all handwritten as well. Anything else you want to add?
There's one more slide, and I cover some key points. So just overall, thank you guys for coming. As we talked about, I just published the full ICDC module in Canvas. I would really highly recommend going and checking out your specific virtual competitive event packet. So if you're a business operations research or entrepreneurship or role play, like each of those events have a separate packet. They're like 13 pages long, but we highlighted the key information here. You just might want to go through and read the specifics for written submission or role play submission. And those packets go much more in detail. So those packets are linked in Canvas. Be sure to read your event. And there's one more thing. So penalty points for written events is specified for each event. So whenever you're reading that packet, make sure you go over the penalty points details, because if you don't have that first written statement of assurances, I think it's 15 points off. And there's a couple other things they're looking for. We haven't really had a problem with you guys, but make sure you just check the penalty points again, because that's a really stupid thing to lose points on when you work so hard to make a great paper.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with penalty points, it's usually stuff like page numbering, font, and
Table
stuff
of contents. Like
yeah.
it's a very simple, just formatting issues. So make sure that you have like a correct title page, has the correct date on it and stuff like that. So just review that one final time before submitting on April 12th. If you haven't already, stop by the school store to pick up your trophies and medals. All of y'all are ICDC finalists. We do have a couple trophies left in the school store, and just waiting for a rightful owner. So come by. You can come in any of the lunches and pick it up. If you have any questions, you can message them in the chat box right now, or unmute yourself, whatever you want to do. Or if you think of them later, message me or Danny on the remind, and we will get back to you. We're also planning on having an upcoming Q&A meeting because Ms. Lowe is getting a full info session tomorrow with the ICDC people. And so once we hear back more info and more specific details, we will open up the Q&A meeting. The date for that is to be determined, but we'll keep you guys posted on the line. So at this point, does anyone have any questions? And also, go ahead.
Like, just to add, if you can't come into the school for certain reasons, if you let us know, we can leave it out. We can leave it at the front, so you don't have to walk into school. You can just pick it up at front. I know we had
definitely we can do that. Just message us beforehand, and we can get it for you the next day. And if anyone wants to borrow a DECA blazer, then message Caitlin, and we can get you the details for that. But I know that a lot of people prefer to wear their own blazer because correctly, and there's no DECA blazer requirement for ICDCs. I see that we have 22 responses for the ICDC competitor form. There's 28 people in this meeting, so I'm going to send it one more time to everyone. If you haven't filled it out, please do. We just want to make sure we have the correct email because there's going to be but we do have some very important information that we need to make sure it gets emailed to you, specifically your login info. So does anyone have any questions?
I think everyone filled it out because we have 6 officers in here, I think.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I think everyone filled it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 officers.